So I got a few requests in my last video to go ahead and upload the CES video. I did have one uploaded recently, just in the last day, but I decided to pull that because I felt it was too long. I'd stumbled. I got incorrect information from getting my notes mixed up. Because what I did from Sunday of this past week through to Thursday, which is yesterday at the time of this recording, so for the last 5 days, I've been watching my subscriptions come in, and I'm subscribed to a lot of the tech journalists, Engadget, The Verge, what have you, and they were all reporting on the latest findings from CES. And out of those 100 tallied items, I went ahead and decided to select my personal favorite. There are going to be 10 of them. They're going to be covering the weird, the useful, and the stuff that I'm personally looking forward to. So, let's begin with the weird. For those of you who cannot see, what you are looking at is a block of wood with an LCD display. And it's not an LCD display, tacked onto the wood. It is inside. In other words, if this display was off, you wouldn't know it was, quote-unquote, smart wood, as I'm personally calling it. It might be the official name, I don't remember. Smart wood. And supposedly this thing is touch sensitive. You can control your thermostat with it. The idea I think the manufacturers had was that you could buy it at IKEA and off you go. Personally, I think this is rather silly. Excuse me. As in, why? Now, I will say the display only takes up half of the block of wood. Excuse me. The rest of the wood is normal. But again, why? Why? A lot of the stuff shown at CES is concepts that may never make it or ideas that are just totally bizarro. This falls into the totally bizarro ideas. So does this. For those of you who cannot see, picture a Teletubby that's gone to Japan, gotten together with a fish, and grown wheels. This thing, it's weird. It is cute and weird and just crazy all at the same time because it's expensive. This is the Lovot, L-O-V-O-T, robot. The idea behind it is to make you happy. But I personally don't think the price tag will make anybody happy. I think it was somewhere around $3,000 to $5,000. On top of its head, there is a little round dome. That's where the camera sits. Apparently, when you hug this guy, he gets all cuddly and happy and etc. And I don't get it. I think it's supposed to launch in Japan first and then come to the United States. I don't know how well this is going to sell. Your guess is as good as mine. Weird. I don't get it. And if you thought it stopped there, it doesn't. This is the Dog Ness pet robot. And I'm not saying a robot pet. I'm saying a robot for your pets. Okay? I don't get it. How do I describe the look of this thing? For those of us in the audience who cannot see, you are looking at somebody that would be akin to taking a cat out of the wash and having the look on his face of about ready to scratch your face off. I don't get it. I mean, supposedly you're supposed to be able to play with this, your pet, away from home with this. I can't remember if this is in the prototype stage or not. I don't get it. I don't get it. Now we've gone from the weird to the useful. What you're looking at here is a device that's about the size of a business-grade photocopier, which is, I'm talking about those ones that go from the floor to about table height, the really, really big ones that are supposed to cough up, say, half a dozen sheets of paper a minute, like the ones you would find in an office or a school or a hospital, you know, those kinds of copiers. So it's about that size, but this thing it's not a copier. What this is it's an electronic, automatic clothes folding machine. This is the Foldibot. Foldibot. Again, this thing helps you to fold your clothes. And I happen to know somebody who has some very big interest in this. It's in the prototype stage right now, but when it comes out, they're thinking it's going to cost around $1,000. They're still building a repair and distribution network for the thing. The idea would be like if you wanted to keep it in your bedroom next to your closet, or if you wanted to keep it in your laundry room. They say that it's quieter than a dryer, and it only operates, you'd hear the motors only operate for a few moments, if that. So it's interesting. I like the idea. I like the concept, and we'll have to see where this goes. The fact that they've reached the prototype stage and are getting ready to distribute this thing mass market, I think that's a good sign. Something else that's a good sign is this Samsung micro LED television. Now they've got the 75-inch and they've also got a 256-inch. Now the 256-inch version of this is actually being tested in movie theaters in the United States. So supposedly that version could end up replacing the projection screens that are in movie theaters now. So that's actually I like that. I really do like that, especially with the bezel-less look. I think that if you had the right look on your wall, you could probably put this on your wall, have it display a photo frame, and people wouldn't even know it was a TV. You know, if you did the right kind of camouflage, they wouldn't even know it was there. And in addition, what's really cool about this is the fact that they can actually, there were Samsung reps at the show in the videos that I saw building another screen with this. This actually is available in panels, okay? And the panels allow you to expand and contract the overall size of the TV at will. You add a piece of the panel on and it becomes part of the picture. Now, another interesting thing about Samsung has to do with Apple. Now, these two have been rivals for as long as we can remember, especially when they went to town with Samsung over the design of the original Galaxy phone being too close to the iPhone all those years back. And nowadays, they're fighting over who knows what. But what's interesting about this is the fact that Apple have collaborated with Samsung to allow Samsung TV owners to watch iTunes content on their Samsung TV. Now, supposedly, Samsung and Apple have inked a deal such where as long as you're operating within the confines of the iTunes TV app, they have disabled their tracking systems. We'll just have to see how that works out. Supposedly, with this TV lineup, you're going to be able to utilize everything in terms of the virtual assistants. Google Assistant, Amazon's Assistant, Microsoft's Assistant Cortana, Samsung's own assistant Bixby. I think everything, I can't remember if Siri's included or not, but the fact that Apple is actually allowing this to happen has raised a lot of eyebrows, my own included. So we're just going to have to see how this pans out. I genuinely do not know what to expect. Another thing that I don't know what to expect in terms of its future is this. For those of you who cannot see, picture a nice, long, like an entertainment center type cabinet, sort of squat. And then combine that with the projectors that at least people my age had in school, the kind that come down from the ceiling. Turn those upside down and you've got an LG OLED R rollable TV. Now this thing was the star of the show this year as far as TVs were concerned. This thing, they had several of them and they were going up and down as in a display. LG has tested this for longevity. Now the one thing I don't like about it is the price tag. $8,000 supposedly. They didn't announce pricing, but a lot of people are thinking around the 8,000 mark. So that's not cheap, and it's primarily at the moment for somebody who has everything. At least that's the way I'm looking at it. What's going to happen to the technology going forward? I don't know. I'm hoping that it expands and that we're going to see something in time on a much more affordable set. Speaking of TVs, they've also got the 8K TVs. Now, here's the interesting thing. I don't even have a 4K TV in my house. And yet, people are already up to 8K. Now, the 8K TVs are brand new. They're going to be expensive. But the fact that 8K has arrived, I don't get it. The reason I don't get it is because of this. I figured that 4K was going to be the end of all this. And then now you've got 8K. What's next? 12? It's crazy. But this TV can actually be used as a sound bar if it's rolled away. And I believe it's on wheels, which makes it a lot easier to transport for cleaning underneath, like if you wanted to clean the floor underneath. And you can also have it come up part way if you just want to use it for audio. And then if you want the TV to roll away to not obstruct your view, or if you want to avoid dust getting on it so you don't have to worry about dusting it off every spring, when you do your spring cleaning. So this is a really cool TV, and we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. I personally really, really like this. Another thing that I really like is the Allo security camera and security suite. Part of the reason for that is because supposedly they're going to let you record all your data onto an SD card, and also I believe it's supposed to be the more affordable of the security cameras out there. Now, as somebody with vision loss, I've been looking at this sort of technology for a couple of years now, thinking about what I would personally want to do. Because you never know who's out there. You never know who could come up behind you. You never know who could end up, smashing your door in and trying to kill you. So it's nice to be able to talk to somebody, tell people on election day that you've already voted and that they can leave, without having to open the door and expose yourself to any potential dangers. So I'm very interested in Allo's solution. This is supposed to be a waterproof camera. It's magnetic. So it's going to be really nice to see this technology evolve. Laptops are obviously a mainstay at CES. This one was the star of the show. This is the Alienware Area 51M. This is a $2,500 notebook, desktop replacement type notebook, and Alienware really, for gaming PCs, which I personally don't care for, this has got to be one of the most sophisticated and quote-unquote professional looking gaming PCs that I've ever seen. It's still an unruly behemoth of a thing that is, like 3 or 4 inches thick, got lights all over the place. But but at the same time, it's also toned down. So I really like what they've done here. The other thing that I like is on the inside. Like I said, I don't really care for gaming PCs in general, but this is an interesting concept. It's got a desktop grade CPU and GPU that can actually be swapped out. You heard me correctly. This thing can be disassembled, the components are modular, and you can swap them out. Now, thinking about this from a business perspective, if this concept takes off, then perhaps we might see a business grade notebook, like a workstation, for instance, with this same sort of technology, such where if a business is buying these in bulk, if the upgradability is sustainable and things go off without a hitch with this technology, because again, this is brand new, this has never been tried before to my knowledge. If this really takes off and the business sector can adopt it, it's possible they might be able to keep a PC for 20 years. And of course, by then, who knows what we'll have. In terms of this, the games that would personally require this type of power, including the two power adapters to get the full potential out of this thing, there's only one game that I personally have any interest in, and that was a game that was available, I think, 1 or 2 years ago, called Adrift, where you play an astronaut that is literally adrift in space because their space station had been either hit by meteors or something had happened, and it's your job to find out what happened. All the crew is gone. Everything's just been abandoned. The station is practically destroyed, and you're supposed to go and find out what's going on. That is really the only type of game that I would enjoy. Something that's science fiction, something that isn't really blow yourself up, and something that's not super duper realistic. And unfortunately, the super duper realistic games are the ones that are worthy of having this type of graphics power. Now, the reason I say that, at least in my experience, and the reason I say that is because, number one, because of my vision, things like artificial suns can actually cause issues for me because they're so realistic that they will literally glare in my face. And also, when it comes to video games, I tend to prefer to completely get away. That's one of the reasons I prefer things like Mario and Pokemon and such. It's completely fantasy, completely out of this world, whereas a lot of the shoot-'em-up titles take place in the post-apocalyptic world, and a lot of the racing games, the scenery is so realistic that I would have a hard time seeing where I'm going, unfortunately. Excuse me. But no, for the overall concept of the Alienware 51M, Area 51M, I think that they've got a winner on their hands. Another PC that I really like is this Dell Latitude 7400. The Latitude has always been their business grade of notebook. It is a 2-in-1 convertible. You can switch it up into a tablet. It's got Windows Hello. It's also got LTE. Now, one of the things that I love about LTE in a laptop is you save wear and tear on your smartphone. You don't have to worry about carrying an extra cable around. You don't need to worry about draining your smartphone's battery. And from what I understand, for a lot of people, the performance with a built-in connection is a lot faster, and not all carriers offer the amount of data needed to really make use of it from your phone tethering to a computer. Whereas with it built in, you're free from those restrictions, and from what I understand, at least the way Windows has it set up, it's a pick up and put down situation, kind of like they do in the iPad. That's one of the reasons I love LTE in a computer, and I'm really hoping it takes off. One of the computers that's been a staple of LTE and connectivity has always been, for the last couple of years, the Lenovo ThinkPad X1 Carbon. The 2019 model brings about updated internals. Off the top of my head, I can't remember exactly what those are. Quad stereo speakers, a carbon weave in the design. It's supposed to be lighter. It's I've always been a fan of the ThinkPads. They've been very minimalist, very subdued, and I have always liked that look. And the other reason I've liked the ThinkPads is because they are business grade notebooks, which is to say they have a very high sense of security. And with Lenovo's built-in security features as well as Microsoft's own security features, you can lock this thing down pretty tight, which I personally like. You've also got the Think Shutter for the camera. That feature's been around for a while. Another feature, another variant of this is the Lenovo ThinkPad X1 Yoga. That's been around for a while. They've managed to update that one for 2019, and that one has an all-aluminum enclosure and a couple of other niceties that I can't remember off the top of my head. Again, you can Google them. These particular laptops are going to be available in June. The Alienware is supposed to be available sometime this spring. I can't remember when the Latitude is going to be coming out. But these are not my absolute favorite laptops of CES 2019. My favorite laptop and device of CES 2019 is a computer that has 19 hours of battery life and weighs only 3 pounds. And that is the LG Gram 17-inch. This is a 17-inch notebook computer in a 15.5-inch body that weighs just under 3 pounds and has 19 hours of battery life. The one thing that would make this perfect in my eyes is if they were to build it with an optional LTE modem. And again, like I said, that's for on-the-go connectivity as needed to pick up and put down kind of situation. Now, obviously, this is not everything. There was lots to talk about with CES. There were a couple of phones. I wanted to wait for Mobile World Congress, though, for those. There were some really strange things that I can't remember off the top of my head. There were also some mobility solutions. If you Google Mercedes-Benz Urbanetic, that's supposed to be a self-driving electric vehicle that's part passenger, part cargo, where you can swap out the canopy from passenger to cargo as needed. So it would be an interesting concept to look into in the future. They've also got Uber is looking at in the future purchasing this autonomous flying taxi called the Bell Nexus. Think of a quadcopter drone, but jumbo-sized. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. There's also the Hyundai Elevate that looks like an octagonal Mars rover for the Earth. And I say that because it's got the same sort of characteristics of all freewheeling wheels. Again, all electric. It's got gull-wing doors to allow for easy entry and exit of people in wheelchairs. So it was definitely, like I told you, when I began thinking about doing this video, I came up with over 100 things. But these are the top 10 that I personally feel were most noteworthy, and obviously I did skip a lot. There was a lot to cover. But, one other thing before I forget. So speaking of LTE with connected laptops, Engadget sat down with a panel from Microsoft, Samsung, and Qualcomm, and all three basically agreed that this is going to be the year of the Snapdragon-driven, always connected, always on PC. I'm personally excited for that. I like the idea of multi-day battery life. I like the idea of giving an Intel a run for their money. Maybe we'll see form factors that we haven't seen before in the PC market because of the architecture of the Qualcomm Snapdragon being fanless and being, super powerful. The 8CX in particular is supposed to support Windows 10 Enterprise, like I mentioned in a video back in November when I was talking about this for the first time. But the fact that 2019 we're going to see a lot of these always connected PCs come out, that can only spell good fortune in my book. But that's basically what went on with CES this year. And like I said, feel free to search it all up and find out more if you're interested. Thank you for watching. Comments are welcome, and have a nice day.